All right, so this is the last module for this topic. Uh, Maybe the final and perhaps most difficult pillar. Hmm. So we have established the culture. So we have analyzed the leadership team, and we have formulated a strategy. But how do we ensure that an entry-level software engineer in a remote office or a sales representative in a different country is actually motivated to achieve the CEO's 5-year strategic plan? This is the alignment problem. And it is where high-level strategy meets the micro foundations of human behavior and motivation. So historically, this problem was approached through the lens of agency theory. This is the classic and but important. So we called 대리니론 in Korean. Actually, this theory is quite useful in a civil era, in a business era, like human resource, of course, and marketing and finance and accounting as well. So you must study for it. So this is called economic model that assumed fundamental conflict or of interest between the principal and the agent as well. So I'm gonna make the new paper for it. So agency theory, the fundamental conflict of interest between principal, the owner, and shareholders, and agent, normally the employee. So it assumes that employees are rational, self-interested actors, so who will avoid work and pursue their own interest, unless they are strictly monitored or incentivized with financial rewards. So this paradigm led to the widespread global adoption of carrot and sticks, performance-related pay, stock options, and hyper-detailed KPIs as well. So, however, we have seen that agency theory has a dangerous dark side. So, when applied to complex strategic implementation, strategic implementation. So, when incentives are too little or too aggressive, they lead to goal displacement. So, the example, when incentives are too narrow or too aggressive, 2G, they led to goal displacement. Oops, I'm going to erase it. So employees become so focused on hitting the metric that they ignore the actual strategy and ethics of the firm. So consider the infamous Wells Fargo scandal of 2016. The corporate strategy was cross-selling, is getting existing customers to open more accounts. The incentive was a high pressure bonus system for every new account opened. The result? Employees acted with perfect, cold economic rationality. They created millions of fake accounts for customers without their knowledge to hit their targets. They hit their organized behavior targets, but they destroyed the strategic reputation and market value of the bank. This is a classic example of how misaligned agency-based incentives can lead to strategic suicide. So in contrast to the cynical view of agency theory, so we'll look at the stewardship theory as well. So this theory suggests that employees are not just self-interested agents, but can be steward. So who derive the deep utility and personal meaning from the success of the organization. So this aligns with Desai and Ryan's self-determination theory (SDT). This is also my favorite theory as well. So which is the most important motivational framework in modern organizational behavior. So especially that guy, Desai, is really important academic paper for the self-determination theory and motivation theory. So if someone has interested in the motivation era, just type of his name, and he wrote a lot of articles and he provide brilliant lecture on the web, like a TED and YouTube. So I recommend to search his name on the online. Anyway, so SDT argues that for long-term strategic alignment, so extrinsic motivation, money, and fear is fundamentally insufficient, he argued. So it's better to explain in a new paper as well. So SDT theory, self-determination theory, SDT, from this side, Ryan. Okay, so in SDT, extrinsic motivation. Of course, many students not agreed because money is the really important. But so good example is the money here is fundamentally insufficient, so especially for knowledge work. Of course, even 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 that article argued that extrinsic motivation not working in a knowledge work. I disagree part of it, but it's true, it works. So if back to the class, so we must cultivate intrinsic motivation. So they argue that intrinsic motivation is really important. Oops, baby. Okay, so to do this, an organization must satisfy three basic psychological needs. What's that? Autonomy, competence, and relatedness. The first, autonomy means the employee feels that they have a choice and voice as well, which means that how they execute their work. So when employees at Google, the good example is the Google, the Google are given 20 times time, 20% time to work on their own projects. The company is leveraging autonomy to drive strategic innovation. This is the good example for autonomy. The second, competence means they feel they have the training, mastery, and resource to succeed in their role. So if a strategy requires new technical skills, but the firm does not invest in training, the employee's sense of competence drops and motivation follows. Third, relatedness means they feel a profound sense of belonging to a community with a shared noble purpose. So when an employee at Patagonia works, toward the strategic goals of environmental sustainability, their sense of relatedness is high and creating a powerful alignment that money simply cannot buy. So when these three needs are met, employees internalize the corporate strategy as well. So they do not follow the strategy because they are being watched by managers. They follow it because they believe it is the right and meaningful things to do. So by fostering these needs, the firms align individual curiosity with the strategic goal of continuous product development. So they don't have to force alignment, they enable it through superior organized behavior design as well. Okay, good. These three core values for the SVT. And to manage this alignment in a practical, day-to-day sense, we'll look to Locke and Latham's goal-setting theory. So they proved through decades of empirical research that high performance is the result of a specific and difficult goals. However, from a strategic perspective, these goals must be vertically aligned. Imagine a golden thread and that starts at the CEO's desk. So it goes through the TMT down to middle management and finally to the individual contributor. So every person's individual goals must be a logical subset of the goal above it. So if the CEO's strategic goal is sustainability and carbon neutrality, but the plant managers Individual goal is maximum production volume and minimum cost. Uh, the golden thread is broken. The OB of the plant managers actively fighting the strategy of the CEO. This is why tools like the balance scored card, Kaplan and Norton's card are so critical for modern management. Actually, the BS, we call the BSC or the balance scorecard. BSC is not worked well in a recent days, but even BSC is a really important concept and value in a strategic era. And also sometimes it works and it helps to analyze the golden, uh, um, I'm sorry. It helps to recognize the golden thread as well. So BSC are so critical for modern management. So BSC forces managers to look far beyond the simple finances. It measures four perspectives: financial, I'm gonna write it for it, and customer, internal processes, and learning and growth. So by measuring learning and growth, the oversight, the firm ensure that it is building the long-term human capabilities and cultural alignment required for the financial result of tomorrow's. Um, Alignment is not a one-time event or a yearly performance review. It is a continuous process of communication, storytelling, and feedback. It requires the leadership to constantly reinforce the why behind the what. If an employee is understanding the why, the strategic purpose, and the human impact, they are much more likely to show organizational strategic behavior (OCB). So this is the willingness to go above and beyond their former job descriptions to help the firm succeed. In a complex, fast-moving world, no strategy can predict every hurdle. So we need employees who can use their own judgment to solve problems in a way that is consistent with the firm's strategy. So OCB, organization strategic behavior, is the ultimate strategic buffer. So furthermore, we must address the role of psychological contracts as well. So we call that 심리적 계약 in Korea. OCB we called 조직 시민 행동 in Korea. Anyway, so beyond the formal employment contract, there is an unwritten set of expectations between the employee and the firms. If the firm strategy involves a pivot that requires massive overtime or a relocation, but the psychological contract was built on stability and work-life balance, or so the contract is breached. The resulting strategic cynicism can destroy the firm from within. Managing these unwritten expectations is a core OB capability that determines whether a strategic change will be embraced or sabotaged. Sabotage. So we move to the next module, is the last module. This is the synthesis and conclusion, the integrated strategy manager. Uh, okay, so we have moved from the macro historical level down to the micro psychological foundation, exploring the profound and inseparable link between strategic management and organization behavior. So we started with the realization that in the modern globalized economy, competitive advantage is no longer found in market positioning or physical asset alone. So it is found in the socially complex and casually ambiguous resources of the firm. So we analyze the organizational culture as the gravitational medium through which strategy is expressed, and we understood why underlying assumptions are the ultimate strategic success or failure. So we examined the paradox, learning how past success can become a cultural anchor that prevents necessary strategic change. And also we explored the UE theory, UET, so of strategic leadership, acknowledging that the cognitive architecture is a functional backgrounds and the psychological traits of the CEO and the top management team TMT shape the very strategic reality that the organization perceives and acts upon. So we learned that the organization is quite literally a reflection of its leaders and that diversity in the boardroom is not just a social goal but a strategic necessity for high quality environmental scanning and decision making. And finally, we look at the problem of alignment, moving from the narrow, often destructive economic view of agent theory to the more sophisticated. So human-centric view of self-determination theory (SDT) and the vertical aligned goal setting. So we understood that strategic execution is a human endeavor powered by intrinsic motivation, trust, and a shared purpose. The key takeaway for you as a doctoral researchers and future global leaders is this: strategy and organized behavior are not two different departments. Okay? Uh, you must remember, you must you must keep you must keep in your mind that. Uh, you must keep this concept. Of course, they are two different perspectives on the same organizational reality. A world-class strategy will fail without a culture of trust um, and psychological safety. A brilliant top management team will fail if they cannot navigate their own cognitive biases and functional blind spots, and a motivated workforce will fail if they are not aligned with a clear, meaningful, and a vertically integrated strategical goal as well. So as you reflect on today's session, so consider the firms that are currently leading their industries. They are not just better at strategy in the sense, so they are better at the organizational behavior of strategy. So they have built the cultures that are resilient, leaders who are self-aware, and employees who are deeply committed to share the mission. So, mm, in your future work, I challenge you to always look for a gaps. Is there's a gap between the company's state strategy and its deep-seated cultural assumptions? Is there a gap between the CEO's personality and the organization's current needs? Is there a gap between the incentive systems and the long-term vision of the firm? When you can identify, analyze, and bridge these organizational behavior gaps, you have moved beyond being a mere administrator and have become a true strategy leader. So please ensure you review the core academic reading for this week. particularly Barney's resource-based view, and Hamburger methods, and Shine. So these texts are the intellectual foundation of everything we have discussed today. So in our next session, maybe so we will continue this thema by looking at part two, if we have enough time. Okay, so thank you for your intense focus and your patience and your dedication during a long time. It is rare to have the opportunity to engage so deeply with these foundational concepts, and I appreciate your commitment to the rigor of our field. Okay, good. Have a productive week of study, and I will see you in our next session. Thank you.